over the course of my career, I was a broadcaster for the Voice of America. As a young African moving to the US, when I was given the chance to be a broadcaster at VOA, I was so happy. And then 2 or 3, 4 years later, that I realized that I was being used maybe to spin my own African, citizen, my fellow African citizens. Then I moved to the private sector. I went to CNN. I was a stringer around Africa covering conflicts, but I realized that it was even worse than Voice of America, because Voice of America would tell you we have the editorial, and then when we tackle the news, we go by the rules. And then I went to the African Union as a communication consultant, and it even worse over there because, everything over there is paid by the foreign governments. There's no real communication. And then when there's a project, the communication side is just given to a nice looking fellow or lady who will take pictures and send a few posts on the internet. So this narrative mismatch is, as they all said, is due to the fact that more stories are done, about Africa rather than from Africa, information asymmetry, underinvestment in influence, and also, other reasons why we're not there. But I want to cut straight to the chase and say here that Africa is its own spoiler. How can Africans be proud themselves or the continent when young Africans who just go out to look for better, let's say, internet, demonstrating for more democracy, are being met by terrible violence? How can they be proud of being African when you walk on the beaches of Accra and then some like brown matter on the ground makes you limp, like worse than if you were even, struck by a stone? How can you be proud of Africa when your city cannot deal with waste management? Africa is its own spoiler, and then we need to project an image of a modern continent that embraces science, embraces modernity, embraces whatever life is bringing to us, of course, entrenched in our traditions. I would like to hear talked about an opportunity that is being untapped, which is people-to-people narrative. In complex landscape, Africa possesses an extraordinary advantage: its people and its community. And then it's not only the communities that we have here on the continent. We saw during this Congress that, we even have more representation, more active representation abroad in the diasporic communities. So we should really, and I insist on that, bring forward this community to do what I call citizen diplomacy. We did it with the state of Vermont, where I live now in the US, where friends from Senegal were able to create a more dynamic relationship between Senegal and the state of Vermont that formal diplomat could do. So we need to tap into this resource, which is citizen diplomacy. But what will truly transform Africa's image is, according to me, a multi-stakeholder narrative system. A credible global image requires more than good stories. It requires a system. Africa needs a narrative operating model anchored in 5 strategic pillars that I think municipalities, cities shape lived experience. Lomé, for example. Lomé, since I was a child, my mother used to come to Lomé to buy les pagnes africains, the African fabrics. And she always told me, you go to Lomé, it's a clean city. I came to Lomé, I experienced that. The same way you talk about Lomé, the same way you talk about Paris, that's how our cities should establish themselves to be beyond the states, beyond the government, a better representation of who we are, entrenched in our traditions, and looking toward the future. Universities, the knowledge engine. Universities generate data, research, and talent, so they document African achievement, train communicators, and give scientific credibility to stories we tell. I was in the US, tried to go to school, they look at my diplomas from Ivory Coast, they take me back to, because I see doctors, I see intellectuals, I see students coming from Africa who are, not taken seriously because we don't invest enough in our universities. The word is about science, the word is about, beyond culture. We like to celebrate cultural achievement, but we also have to celebrate scientific, achievement. I was saying that we need to bring in the diaspora global voice. The diaspora voice, which is Africa's global voice. Our diaspora is powerful, soft power network with influence in global media, and it must transition from scattered individuals to a structured, coordinated engagement. Of course, they told about the media, and I remember I was at the African Union. For years, the African Union is talking about putting together a media department. We're still waiting for that TV station. We're still waiting for more than press releases and a few TikTok posts now. And science and innovation. The world admires, I said, cultural talent, but they respect scientific achievement. Africa must be present in laboratories, climate research, AI engineering, agro-industrial innovation. So when Africa innovates, Africa is respected, and automatically, we have a better image that we project in the world. So I will conclude, and then I hope that during the Q&As we can go further in our discussion. Africa's global image will not change because we ask the world to see us differently. It will change because we build system, governance, dignity, and innovation to make a new narrative. In communication, you have to ask yourself, to whom am I talking? We usually talk to the world outside Africa because either we need a loan, either we need to have the favor of the World Bank or the IMF, but we rarely talk to Africans themselves. We need to convince our own people. When I was coming here, I wasn't sure about what to do here, what to make of Pan-Africanism. But it took me 3 days to be convinced, not only by the president of this country, who had the courage to sit here with people that were doubting about Togo's stand vis-à-vis Pan-Africanism. But that president, acknowledging the errors of the past, has stood here and has asked us to look forward to getting together to win this fight. We also have, and it's important to convince the youth, and for that, it's important that our countries be models of democracy and models of good governance. We cannot, you cannot ask for someone who wants his country or her country to be a respectful country, to be a Pan-Africanist when, all around is pain, suffering, no hospital, and no clear path towards development. And in discussing who is our audience, we shouldn't, forget the youth. The youth have to be mobilized because our generation, or the generation of those who were the fathers of this wonderful idea of being together, will go. Who will take over? I don't see many youth around us here. I don't see it at school. I had the chance to have a father who had nice books, good books about Pan-Africanism. I had to learn about Pan-Africanism myself. I even had to come here to better grasp the idea of Pan-Africanism. How many people have the chance to come to those, meetings, exclusive meetings, I should say? Let's spread the word to the people so that if Africans themselves are convinced about this, they will be the best person, the best ambassadors to show a better image of Africa across the world. Thank you very much.